Fossilised bones aren't the only way to study dinosaurs. Preserved footprints also offer clues to their prehistoric lives. Now, some of the biggest trackways ever found in the UK have been discovered in Oxfordshire.
Did you know that a 100-million-year-old spider, caught in the act of attacking its prey, has been perfectly preserved in amber? The fascinating world of amber holds more than just ancient tree sap. It's a time capsule filled with strange and mysterious creatures from millions of years ago. Join us as we discover the strangest creatures found in amber and uncover their secrets. The only Caribbean salamander, one of the most intriguing discoveries in amber, comes from a tiny ancient salamander found in the Caribbean. This animal, which has been extinct for millions of years, belongs to a family of salamanders known as the plethodons. It's the only known species of salamander ever to have lived in the Caribbean, making this find quite rare and significant. What makes this salamander stand out is that it doesn't resemble modern salamanders in one key way. It doesn't have the distinct toes that are typical of most salamanders today. Instead of well-defined toes, this ancient creature had bumps on top of webbing. This suggests that the salamander wasn't much of a climber, unlike its modern relatives, which are often seen scaling trees or rocks. It probably lived in small trees or flowering plants, but didn't have the same climbing abilities as salamanders found elsewhere in the world. Scientists are still unsure about how this species ended up in the Caribbean. One theory is that the islands were once connected to South America, and the ancestors of this salamander waded over to the islands around 40 to 60 million years ago. As the islands broke off from the mainland, these salamanders stayed behind and evolved into a distinct species. Another possibility is that they crossed a land bridge when sea levels were lower, or maybe they even floated over on a log, similar to how some modern Caribbean frogs are believed to have arrived. Whatever the case, the Caribbean salamander didn't last long. Scientists think that the climate became cooler and drier between 38 and 23 million years ago, which caused many species, including this one, to die out. Despite its extinction, this salamander is incredibly important to scientists because it gives us a rare glimpse into the biodiversity that once existed in the Caribbean. Scorpion-tailed spider. A fascinating discovery was made when scientists uncovered the fossil of a spider with a scorpion-like tail, about 100 million years old. This ancient spider, found trapped in amber, has an unusual feature that makes it stand out: a long, curved tail resembling that of a scorpion. This feature is unlike anything seen in modern spiders, making it a valuable find for researchers studying the evolution of arachnids. The tail likely had a sensory function, helping the spider detect its environment. Scientists believe the tail might have been used to sense vibrations or movements, much like modern scorpions use their tails. This would have helped the spider hunt for prey or avoid predators, giving it an advantage in its ancient habitat. The tail structure suggests that it was not used for defense or venom delivery, as is the case with modern scorpions. This spider with a scorpion-like tail is significant for understanding arachnid evolution. It shows how early arachnids were beginning to evolve into the true spiders we know today. Modern spiders do not have tails, so this discovery helps scientists understand how certain features might have been lost or modified over time. It also sheds light on the diversity of arachnid life during the Cretaceous period and the different adaptations that existed. The scorpion-tailed spider could provide valuable insights into the transition from ancient arachnids to modern spiders. By studying these early species, scientists can better understand how spiders evolved their modern features and how they adapted to their environments millions of years ago. This discovery helps unravel the complex puzzle of arachnid evolution. A dinosaur's tail. The discovery of a dinosaur's tail covered in feathers, preserved in amber from Myanmar, is one of the most fascinating finds in paleontology. This tiny treasure dates back 99 million years, offering an incredible glimpse into the past. It shows us not only the structure of dinosaur feathers, but also how these ancient creatures might have looked and lived. The tail belonged to a dinosaur that was likely a juvenile from the Maniraptor lineage, a group that includes modern birds as their distant relatives. The preserved tail was about the size of a pencil and made up of 8 vertebrae. These bones were not fused, which is a key clue that it belonged to a dinosaur and not a bird. The feathers on the tail were delicate and fine, arranged in a way that suggests they were more for display than for flying. The feathers had a mix of dark and light colors, with evidence of a pattern known as countershading. This means the darker feathers were on top and lighter feathers were underneath, a feature that likely helped the dinosaur blend into its surroundings. This finding provides exciting insights into feather evolution. It shows that feathers originally served purposes other than flight, such as communication, mating displays, or temperature regulation. The fine details of the feathers reveal tiny structures like barbs and barbules, which help the feathers maintain their shape. Another incredible aspect of this find is the preservation of soft tissue. Scientists detected chemical traces of hemoglobin and ferritin, which are associated with blood and other tissues. This is a rare find because soft tissues usually decay quickly after an animal dies. The amber, however, acted like a time capsule, keeping the tail in excellent condition for millions of years. How did this tail end up in amber? Scientists suggest a couple of possibilities. One idea is that the dinosaur may have been trapped in sticky tree resin while alive, possibly while exploring or resting on a tree. Another hypothesis is that the tail could have been detached during an attack or some other incident and then become stuck in the resin. An attacking spider. A remarkable fossil captured a scene frozen in time. A spider attacking a parasitic wasp about 100 million years ago. This unique find, preserved in amber, offers a fascinating glimpse into life during the Cretaceous period. It's as though nature pressed a pause button, leaving the moment intact for scientists to study millions of years later. The amber contains not just the spider and the wasp, but also strands of spider silk. This indicates that the spider had trapped the wasp in its web, a crucial step in its hunting strategy. The silk strands are incredibly well preserved, showing the intricate patterns spiders use to catch prey. This detail gives scientists important clues about the hunting behaviors of ancient spiders and the effectiveness of their webs. The wasp, too, provides valuable information. It belonged to a group of parasitic wasps that likely targeted spider eggs or other small creatures. Its presence on the web hints at a possible interaction where it either stumbled into the trap accidentally or was caught while trying to parasitize the spider's eggs. This fossil is more than just a snapshot of a dramatic encounter. It's an ecological time capsule. It shows predator-prey dynamics in the prehistoric world, revealing the complex relationships between different species. Spiders were already skilled hunters millions of years ago, while parasitic wasps played their own unique roles in the ecosystem. Discoveries like this are rare because amber fossils usually capture single organisms, not interactions. This makes the spider-wasp fossil especially valuable for scientists studying ancient ecosystems. It provides a vivid reminder that even millions of years ago, life was a complex web of interactions, with predators and prey locked in an eternal struggle for survival. Flea with plague. Scientists have discovered a 20-million-year-old flea preserved in amber from the Dominican Republic, offering fascinating clues about ancient diseases. This tiny creature may have carried a prehistoric strain of bacteria similar to the one that causes the plague today. It's incredible to think that something so small could hold secrets about diseases that have shaped history. The flea, trapped in golden amber, appears to have traces of bacteria on its rectum and mouthparts. Scientists suggest these bacteria may be similar to Yersinia pestis, the pathogen behind modern plagues like the Black Death. While it isn't the exact same strain, this ancient bacterium shares many traits, making scientists wonder if fleas were spreading deadly diseases long before humans ever walked the earth. This ancient flea likely lived in a warm, tropical environment. Its hosts may have been small mammals, such as rodents, which are known carriers of plague-like bacteria today. The flea's role as a vector, an insect that spreads disease from one animal to another, appears to have been in play millions of years ago. This supports the idea that fleas have been important players in disease transmission for a very long time. The discovery also opens up questions about how diseases evolve. If these bacteria existed 20 million years ago, it suggests that deadly pathogens could be much older than we once thought. Studying these ancient strains might help us understand how diseases adapt and survive over time. Could the bacteria have caused outbreaks among ancient animals, similar to how plagues have affected humans? These are the kinds of questions scientists hope to answer. One interesting detail is how well the amber preserved this tiny flea and its microscopic hitchhikers. Amber acts like a natural time capsule, keeping even the smallest details intact for millions of years. This has allowed researchers to study not just the flea's body, but also its ecological relationships, offering a snapshot of ancient ecosystems. A dinosaur hatchling, a remarkable discovery in Myanmar amber, has given scientists a glimpse into the early days of a prehistoric bird hatchling. This tiny fossil, dating back 99 million years, is one of the most detailed examples of a young bird from the time of the dinosaurs. It captures features like its head, neck, feet, wings, and even scales, preserved in stunning detail. This hatchling belonged to a group of ancient birds called Enantiornithes. These birds were quite different from modern birds in some ways, yet they shared many similarities. For example, this little bird had teeth in its mouth, something modern birds don't have. It also had claws on its wings, which is another feature we don't see in birds today. These traits show that early birds were still evolving, blending characteristics of their dinosaur ancestors with those of modern birds. One of the most fascinating aspects of this discovery is what it tells us about the bird's behavior. Scientists believe this hatchling was precocial, meaning it was born ready to fend for itself. Its wing feathers were already well developed, suggesting it could probably fly or glide shortly after hatching. This would have been an important survival skill in a world full of predators. The amber also preserved fine details of the bird's scales and feathers, giving researchers a rare look at its anatomy. The feathers were intricate and included structures that indicate they might have been used for flight even at such a young age. The scales on its feet were tough, likely helping it move through its environment. This discovery also sheds light on the diversity of life during the time of the dinosaurs. The Enantiornithes were a successful group of birds, living alongside dinosaurs for millions of years. They eventually went extinct, but their fossils help us understand the early evolution of birds. Amber fossils like this one are incredibly valuable because they preserve soft tissues and fine details that other fossils often don't. This hatchling gives scientists a chance to study not just the bones, but also the features that tell us how they lived and survived. It's a window into a world that existed nearly 100 million years ago, revealing the early steps of birds in their evolutionary journey. A gecko. The discovery of a tiny prehistoric gecko trapped in amber offers an incredible look into the past, showing us what life was like millions of years ago. This fossil, found in Russian amber, dates back to a time period between 54 and 34 million years ago during the early Eocene epoch. The gecko, named Yantogecko balticus, is preserved so well that scientists can study many fine details of its body. This ancient gecko was extremely small, measuring only about 15 millimeters, or roughly the size of a thumbnail. What makes this discovery even more fascinating is how well its delicate features were preserved. Although only the front part of its body was saved, it includes the head and most of the right front limb, with the tips of the fingers missing. The fossilized gecko lacks movable eyelids, a characteristic it shares with most modern geckos. Its toes were quite unique as well. Digits 1 and 2 were much smaller than the others, showing an asymmetry that scientists found intriguing. One of the most important things about Yantogecko balticus is its climbing ability. The gecko had adhesive toe pads, which were broad, flat structures that allowed it to grip onto vertical surfaces like tree trunks and branches. Even more fascinating, the amber preserved microscopic details of these toe pads. Scientists could see layers of plate-like structures at the tips of the toes. These structures would have been covered in tiny hair-like filaments. In modern geckos, these filaments create a special bond with surfaces through van der Waals forces, allowing them to stick and climb with ease. This discovery tells us that geckos had already developed advanced climbing adaptations more than 50 million years ago. The environment at the time was very different from today. Earth was a greenhouse world, meaning it was much warmer, with no permanent ice caps. Geckos could live in areas much farther north than they do now, including what is now northwestern Russia. This suggests that the region had a warm, lush ecosystem filled with trees where geckos could thrive. The amber fossil of Yantogecko balticus is more than just a preserved gecko. It's a window into how animals adapted to their environment millions of years ago. A dinosaur's head. In 2020, a fascinating fossil was announced that got everyone excited. Researchers claimed to have found the tiniest dinosaur ever discovered, a species named Oculudentavis congrai. This creature, trapped in amber from Myanmar, was said to be about the size of a hummingbird with a bird-like skull. The discovery made headlines because it seemed to offer a rare glimpse of a small dinosaur that lived around 99 million years ago. However, science is all about testing ideas and revisiting evidence, and that's exactly what happened with Oculudentavis. When more scientists had the chance to study the fossil in detail, they realized the initial interpretation was wrong. This wasn't a tiny dinosaur at all. It was actually a lizard, a very unusual one, but a lizard nonetheless. This reanalysis was an important reminder that even exciting discoveries need careful verification. The fossil's bird-like skull had led to the original confusion. It had a pointed snout and a high number of teeth, features that could be mistaken for a bird, especially in such a small animal. Its eye sockets were also shaped in a way that seemed bird-like, but a closer look at its bones and other anatomical details revealed it belonged to the lizard family. For example, its skull had characteristics unique to lizards, like specific shapes in its jaw and the way its bones connected. These details made it clear that Oculudentavis wasn't a dinosaur, but a lizard with some features that happened to resemble birds. This amber discovery highlights how evolution can sometimes produce surprising similarities between unrelated animals. The bird-like traits in this lizard may have evolved independently, possibly as adaptations for its lifestyle, such as catching prey or navigating its environment. It's an example of what scientists call convergent evolution, where unrelated species develop similar features. Dinosaur feather with lice. Around 100 million years ago, during the age of the dinosaurs, 2 feathers were preserved in amber with something remarkable: tiny ancient lice clinging to them. This discovery from Myanmar amber gives us a fascinating glimpse into life in the Cretaceous period. It shows that even back then, dinosaurs were dealing with pesky parasites, just like modern animals today. The ancient lice found with these feathers are incredibly similar to the lice we know today. Their tiny bodies had specialized claws for gripping onto feathers, just like modern lice used to cling to the fur or feathers of their hosts. This shows that the basic design of these parasites hasn't changed much in millions of years. It just shows how well suited they are to their way of life. Even their diet seems to have been the same. They likely fed on bits of skin or feathers from their dinosaur hosts. The feathers themselves offer clues about their purpose. Unlike the sleek aerodynamic feathers of birds that help with flight, these were fluffy and soft, suggesting they were used for warmth. This tells us that some dinosaurs may have been covered in feathers to keep warm rather than to fly. It also hints at how lice might have taken advantage of these feathered coverings, thriving in the dense, warm environments they provided. A 44-million-year-old ant, a remarkable amber fossil from 44 million years ago, shows an ancient ant dealing with a troublesome parasite, a mite clinging tightly to its body. This snapshot of prehistoric life offers fascinating insights into the early days of the complex relationships between parasites and their hosts. The mite found on the ant is similar to modern parasitic mites, like the notorious Varroa destructor, which attacks honeybees today. These mites feed on their hosts, often targeting blood or other vital fluids. While we can't know exactly how this ancient mite affected the ant, it likely caused harm by draining its resources, weakening the insect, or spreading disease. Such parasites can have a big impact not just on individual hosts, but also on entire colonies and ecosystems. The fossil helps scientists trace the evolution of parasitism, a relationship where one species benefits at the expense of another. Parasites have existed for millions of years, and their ability to adapt to their hosts is one of the reasons they've been so successful. This amber fossil shows that even 44 million years ago, parasitic mites had already developed specialized behaviors and body structures to attach to their hosts and survive. The interaction between the ant and the mite also highlights how host-parasite relationships can drive evolution. Over time, parasites can push their hosts to develop defenses, while parasites evolve better ways to exploit their hosts. This back-and-forth struggle is an important force shaping the diversity of life. A carnivorous plant. Scientists made a fascinating discovery in a 47-million-year-old piece of amber, a carnivorous plant preserved in remarkable detail. This ancient plant was a predator, using sticky surfaces to trap unsuspecting insects. While many people associate carnivorous plants with unique habitats today, this fossil shows that their hunting techniques were already well developed millions of years ago. The preserved plant had glands on its surface that secreted a sticky substance. These glands likely worked much like those of modern carnivorous plants, such as sundews, which lure insects into their trap with sweet-smelling bait. Once an insect became stuck, the plant would slowly digest it, absorbing valuable nutrients. This strategy is thought to be especially useful for plants growing in nutrient-poor soils, as it may help them acquire nitrogen and other nutrients needed for survival. Finding fossils of carnivorous plants is exceptionally rare. Unlike animals, plants have soft tissues that decompose quickly, making it difficult for them to be preserved in amber or other fossil forms. That's why this discovery is so important. It gives scientists a rare glimpse into how carnivorous plants may have looked and functioned millions of years ago. This fossil also helps researchers better understand the evolution of carnivory in plants. It suggests that the ability to trap and consume prey developed as a specialized adaptation to challenging environments. Over time, this ability gave rise to the diverse and fascinating group of carnivorous plants we see today. Amber fossils like this one not only capture moments from the prehistoric world, but also show how ancient plants and ecosystems functioned. By studying these rare finds, scientists can piece together the evolutionary history of plants and learn more about the conditions that shaped life on Earth so long ago. Oldest arthropods. In the Dolomites Alps, scientists discovered some of the oldest amber-encased arthropod fossils dating back around 230 million years. These ancient fossils provide valuable insights into life before flowering plants even existed. Among the preserved creatures, gall mites were found, which are tiny insects that have an important ecological role. Gall mites are fascinating because they interact closely with plants, causing growths known as galls. These mites feed on plant tissues and, in return, help shape plant life. However, during the time these mites lived, plants were very different from the ones we see today. Flowering plants hadn't evolved yet, and the world was primarily dominated by ferns, conifers, and other non-flowering plants. Despite the lack of flowers, gall mites still thrived by interacting with the ancient plants that existed back then. This shows just how long they've been around and how adaptable they are. The discovery of these mites trapped in amber also gives us a glimpse into the past ecosystems. Amber preserves small creatures perfectly, providing a snapshot of life millions of years ago. In the case of these ancient arthropods, it's clear that even before flowering plants arrived, insects like gall mites were already playing crucial roles in plant ecology. They helped shape the plant world long before the colorful flowers we know today began to bloom. These ancient arthropods are among the oldest known, and their fossils help scientists understand the early days of life on Earth. Studying them allows us to better understand how ecosystems functioned millions of years ago and how life evolved over time. These discoveries highlight how survival strategies like the relationship between gall mites and plants can last through ages of change. 100-million-year-old damselflies. In Myanmar's Hukung Valley, scientists found 3 damselflies trapped in amber, perfectly preserved from 100 million years ago. This discovery, led by Chinese researchers, revealed a species never seen before. These insects lived during the Cretaceous period, making their age and preservation remarkable. What made these damselflies even more intriguing were their legs. The males had striped pod-like legs that scientists called spectacular. These legs weren't just for show, they were likely used to attract mates. Researchers think they functioned similarly to the eye spots on a peacock's feathers. The flashy patterns would have been easy for females to spot since damselflies have excellent vision. This unique feature shows how these ancient insects may have developed specific traits to impress potential mates. Interestingly, scientists don't know for certain if the legs were purely for courtship. It's possible they helped males fend off predators or protect vulnerable parts of their bodies. However, because all three males in the amber had similar leg features, researchers leaned toward the idea that these legs were used for mating displays. This discovery offers a rare look into the behaviors of ancient insects. A beetle. Trapped in amber from Myanmar, this beetle dates back 99 million years to the Cretaceous period. At first, the amber piece seemed unremarkable and sat unnoticed for years. However, when a paleontologist polished it and examined the contents more closely, the importance of the tiny insect inside became clear. This beetle, only about 4 millimeters long, was uniquely equipped for pollination. Its body was curved and its head was shaped to reach deep inside flowers. It also had specialized mouthparts that resembled legs, designed to collect and carry pollen. When researchers examined the amber, they found golden pollen grains stuck to the beetle's thorax, abdomen, and legs. This clear evidence showed that the beetle had been visiting flowers shortly before becoming trapped in resin. It's a big discovery because it provides the earliest direct evidence of insect pollination. Pollination is crucial for flowering plants, and this beetle's preserved features demonstrate how insects played a key role in the rapid spread of flowers during the Cretaceous period. Although researchers couldn't identify the exact plant that produced the pollen, it appeared to belong to a group related to modern woody plants. And that's a wrap on some of the strangest creatures found in amber. If you enjoyed learning about these ancient surprises, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more amazing discoveries from the past. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.